Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Welcome indeed to the fastest-paced soccer show in SoCal. This is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Galaxy, Angel City, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's very own Empire Strykers. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, J.R. Liebert, affectionately known as The Scarf, here with my man with the plan, Timmy Kolotz. Timmy, welcome back to another episode of Soccer in 60.
I couldn't be happier to be with you, Scarfy man. Great to be here.
Great to have you back. Don't forget, subscribe to the podcast on all your podcasting platforms, and make sure you subscribe to Soccer in 60 on YouTube. We've got a couple of fantastic interviews this episode. Kevin Baxter of the Los Angeles Times and Robert Palmer, the two-time MASL Defensive Player of the Year for your Empire Strykers, are our two interviews. It was a rough two-match stretch for the Strykers, but two more joined the fold for Orange County Soccer Club. LAFC will watch their talisman play in the AFCON, while both MLS sides select players in the Super Draft. Angel City may have said goodbye to another defender, but we say hello to our good friends over at Omnitrans. In partnership with the Empire Strykers, experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Don't miss out on all the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strykers match. We've got a couple of minutes to talk Angel City, Timmy, and it was another episode of Soccer in 60 and another departure from Angel City. This time, Sarah Dorson, the defender, returns back to Eintracht Frankfurt Frauen, the defender who started 7 of 8 matches played after coming over from Eintracht Frankfurt, returns there after the short spell. She played the full 90 in 5 matches and 89 minutes in another. You'd have to think, Tim, that Coach Alex Straus knew exactly who he was getting with all of his time over at Bayern. So it's interesting that he wouldn't want to keep Sarah Dorson in the fold.
Yeah, with as much playing time as she got, you know that Coach Straus wanted her, knew what her track record was at Eintracht, knew that she was going to be great for the club. But I think it might have been out of even Coach Straus's hands, don't you think? I mean, to go right back just 5 months after she came over, I think there were other things at play here, don't you think, Scarf?
No, I couldn't agree more. Look, she had talked about her dream of playing in the United States. She was very happy to be able to come over to Angel City, but what she said was the entire time she was in Los Angeles, she was thinking about her time in Frankfurt. And we've seen this plenty of times with plenty of players and plenty of sports. Sometimes you think that grass is a lot greener on the one side, and you get there and you realize, sometimes you just shouldn't leave in the first place, but you don't know until you leave. Yeah. And look, Sarah Dorson made a lot of career decisions last year, retiring from the Germans women's national team, deciding to come over and play with Angel City. But either way, look, Angel City probably wishes her all the best. And this is a player that Alex Straus probably would have still loved to have. The nice part about Angel City talk is that we get even more with Kevin Baxter of the Los Angeles Times. Normally, we bring on people to talk about LAFC or Galaxy or Angel City, but that's the beauty of having Kevin Baxter on the show. He is going to hit all 3 of those in this fantastic interview with our producer, Gunnar, right now.
All right, thanks, guys. I am joined right now by a true giant of sports journalism. He writes about soccer and hockey for the LA Times and has covered 7 World Cups, 5 Olympic Games, 6 World Series, and a Super Bowl. He'll actually have to tell us if those stats are still accurate. It might be more by now. Thank you so much for joining me, one of the world's foremost experts on Angel City FC, LAFC, and the LA Galaxy, Mr. Kevin Baxter. Kevin, how are you?
All right, thanks for having me. Happy holidays. And that Olympic count will change in about 2 months when I go to Milan for the Winter Olympics. So
everything else was still accurate.
Yeah, I think so. I have to kind of, I got 7 World Series too. This last World Series, the Dodgers in Toronto. So
there you go.
That's
all
in
right,
there too.
All right. Like I said, a legend of sports journalism. Always appreciate having you on. So thank you very much. If you're ready, let's talk some Angel City.
Let's do it.
Awesome. All righty. Well, I just want to get I don't think we've talked about this actually. We've talked a lot early in the season, mid-season. I don't think I've gotten your take on Alex Straus so far. He comes in mid-season. He's asked to implement a entirely new system, rebuild the team. In the end, he doesn't manage a great record. It's fair to say, misses the playoffs. It's obviously it's hard to come in mid-season. What's your take on the job he's done so far, and what are his odds of success in your opinion?
Well, I'm not giving him a lot of grace on the mid-season thing. And the reason why is he knew for a couple of months he was coming. He had to stay with Bayern Munich in the Frau Bundesliga. He couldn't come coach right away, but certainly watched the games on tape. He was familiar with his players. And the bigger thing was shortly after he came over, he got a long break. There was if you remember in the NWSL season, there was a break in the middle of the season.
Yep.
Just a couple of weeks after he showed up. That gave him plenty of time to get to know the players he didn't already know, to implement his style. So, and he still only won 3 games. He won 3 of 16 games after he came over, with that long break. So I think part of the problem with Alexander Straus, maybe a little bit, was he came really highly touted. He had won 3 Frau Bundesliga titles with Bayern Munich, 3 in a row. And I guess that league isn't as tough as NWSL because he did not have success in his first season. There was a lot of extenuating circumstances. The front office was bringing in a number of new players. They were trying to change, not so much change the playing style, but I think align things with what Alexander Straus wanted with what the front office wanted. So yeah, it is tough to come in mid-season, but again, with that long break and with the months of anticipation that he could familiarize himself with the team and the style of play and maybe a little bit the league. I don't know that the mid-season thing is necessarily the excuse it might be for another coach. For me, however, the biggest black mark for Alexander Straus was in his first season was the fact he repeatedly refused to say Alyssa Thompson's name when Alyssa Thompson, the best player in Angel City history, arguably, took $1 million transfer to go to Chelsea. She didn't do it. She didn't stab anyone in the back. She didn't do it underhanded. She got the team $1 million transfer fee. There was no reason for him to act that way. I thought that was really childish and pointless.
Interesting. Let's talk about on the field for a second, right? You wrote an article recently, and as a matter of fact, we had you on right after to kind of talk about it a little bit, where you made the point that Angel City, while having really connected with the community and having cared about social issues, maybe they overlooked on the field a little bit and having success on the field. I'm wondering, what kind of response have you gotten ever since that article was published, both from fans and also people within the club?
Well, you're the only one that reads that stuff, apparently, because I really didn't get much of a response at all. I mean, a few fans said that they agreed with me, and a few fans wrote in to say that they too have. There was one woman in the story who said that she was not renewing her season tickets because of the performance of the team, and I got a few people that agreed with that. The whole thing with Angel City is they launched with a lot of hoopla, a lot of fanfare, and they do a lot of great things in the community. We can't take that away from them, but it's supposed to, at heart, it's supposed to be a soccer team. All that community stuff is supposed to come out of the soccer team, and it seems like it's the other way around. The team has had 1 winning season, made the playoffs once in 4 seasons. Attendance was down 16% last season. Now it's still second in the NWSL, but it's the 4th consecutive season that attendance has declined. In their first 3 seasons, they had just 1 crowd of smaller than 16,300. That was the average last season. So clearly the bloom is off the rose. I talked to one owner, I think we might have mentioned this earlier. I talked to one owner who said, in their ownership group with all these Hollywood A-list celebrities and stuff, I talked to one owner and they said, if you ask 8 out of every 10 fans coming out of the stadium what the score was or who won, they wouldn't know. They've come here for the celebration. And this person said, we're turning the corner now. This has to be a soccer team that wins and is exciting and produces on the field. The newness is gone. The fact that Jennifer, Ever Longoria owns part of the team. All that stuff is gone now. We move beyond that. We need to start winning on the field, and they're not doing that. The front office now with Mark Parsons, Mark Wilson, Matt Wade, they have a philosophy. They have a direction. They know what they want. Next season, I think, is going to be a big one for NWSL, for Angel City, because they have the coach they want now, 4th coach in 4 seasons. They have the general manager with a vision, a guy like Mark Parsons, a lot of success in NWSL. They need to start putting it together. His vision is a long-term vision. He said it could take 3 seasons. He doesn't have 3 seasons. If they don't produce and start winning next season, I'm not saying they got to win the NWSL Cup, but I think they have to make a real run for the playoffs, make the playoffs, have a winning season. They need to produce. They need to show they're headed in the right direction. Otherwise, I don't know that he gets 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Before I ask you my next question, I apologize to everybody for almost choking on my last question. I just told Kevin before the interview I'm coming off a cold, so I'm glad I got that question out. But let's talk player personnel for a second, right? We had several players during the season that left who were part of the old regime or old regimes, plural. Let's say Alana Kennedy, Katie Zellum, M.A. Vignola, right? The same true of off-season departures, Megan Reed, Miyabi Mariah, Madison Hammond. But now you have Sarah Dorson depart, right? She's already back in Germany after joining late in the season. She seemed like an Alex Straus acquisition. And supposedly the whole point of him taking over in the summer was that he had more time to get a head start on rebuilding the team. Now a player he brought in has already left. What's your take on the current roster and the fact that we've seen a lot more departures than signings so far?
Well, in the first 9 months of last season, they made 29 transactions, players going, players coming. One of the things people talked about is, hey, they're not doing much in the off season. They're not doing much, in the lead up to training camp. Well, they did a lot of their heavy lifting in the summer. That was part of Mark Parsons and Alexander Straus coming in saying, these are the players we wanted. And I actually talked to Mark Parsons about that. And he said, these were the players they wanted. They were available then in August. Let's go get them then. Why wait? Get them in here, get them accustomed to our training camp, get them accustomed to the way things are going to happen here, and make sure they're comfortable. And we're finding out maybe some players aren't comfortable. I think in the case of the Katie Zellum and some of the other European players, they came over here. And the same thing in MLS, with Steven Gerrard when he came over with the Galaxy. They just weren't comfortable here. And it wasn't the league or the teams or the salaries or anything. It's just they were too far from home. And I think you're seeing that with some of the NWSL players. But you did mention, the turnover. Ali Riley and Christian Press are gone. That leaves a huge leadership void. Not so much for what they did on the field last season because they combined for 2 starts, but what they bring in the locker room. They brought in people like Evelyn Shores and Hina Sugita. Those are players that Parsons are very high on. I think that the number of changes this club has made, again, 29 changes in the first transactions in the first 9 months, and then they continued that in the offseason. That's really high for the 4th year, but I think it just shows that when you go through 3 general managers and 4 coaches, there's no consistency. Every time a new general manager comes in, they're going to change the style of play and what they want. So Angel City is still looking for that foundation, and maybe they'll find it this year. But there are a lot of questions, and I think what you have with some of those other players, the players that you mentioned that have left, again, in addition to the homesickness and maybe some of the other factors, is they just didn't fit. There were a lot of square pegs trying to be forced into round holes, and a lot of these players just didn't play with one another very well. Nothing against the women; it's just that they didn't fit the system. And they didn't have the chemistry on the field that they needed. And that's what I think Mark Parsons is looking for.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on. I could talk Angel City. I could talk an hour about every team, each team with you every day. Let's move on to LA Galaxy, right? Let's make sure we give everybody some time. I want to start with a big question for the Galaxy. We've talked a lot about ice raids. The Galaxy doesn't respond to them. Fans stop showing up to the games. There's some fan protests, right? All that stuff. Now it's announced that the Galaxy has won and I want to make sure I get the name of it right. It's the Community Impact, the MLS Community Impact Award. So I wanted to ask you, how do you square those 2 things?
Well, I don't, and I don't try to, but I will say that a lot of these MLS club awards, we MVP that landed down at MVP, Coach of the Year, General Manager of the Year, all those are fine. Other leagues have those. Those people need to be recognized. That's what we see. It's front facing. You see that when you go to the stadium. What is the Community Impact Award? I'm not even sure, but a lot of these MLS awards are really for internal recognition. They're for, patting each other on the back in the office. They should never really be publicized. And it seems like if you look at the number of awards they gave out, it seemed like every team got something. It was like I don't know, they felt like participation trophies or like the FIFA Peace Prize. It's not really something meaningful. It's just a little tchotchke that they give out. I'm not really sure what the Galaxy got that for, but if it's really for the way they act with the community and their fans, I'm not sure that they deserved it. And you mentioned that the Galaxy were the only soccer team in LA not to make a statement of support for their fans and the community during the ice raids. Angel City came out immediately. They had a great campaign, LAFC right behind them. None of the other professional teams did, so we shouldn't hammer the Galaxy too much. They were the only soccer team that didn't do it, but none of the hockey teams did it. None of the baseball teams did it. None of the football teams did it. Right. But in addition to that, when you look at what the Galaxy did when they had the ring night and they didn't have enough rings for all the fans that bought tickets for ring night, they almost had a riot. I mean, you got to go back to 2023. Remember, there was a fan boycott of the team.
Yep.
Then the next year, 2024, they win the MLS Cup. And I think that sort of disguised some of the tension that still existed between the team and their fans. That came back last year when the team, again, was unsuccessful on the field, had a terrible season. They had, some of these other incidents with like ring night and other things. The Galaxy, of the three soccer teams in LA, LAFC, Angel City, and the Galaxy have the lowest season ticket base, which is strange because they're the oldest team. They've raised prices the last 2 years at least. So 2 straight years they've raised prices. Last year, the worst season statistically in franchise history, they raised prices, for season tickets. So that's not the way to say thank you, fans, for hanging in there during the thin times. And I'm not sure what the Community Service Award is for, but there's a lot of tension, I think, between the fans and the team. And I don't think it's going to go away, even if there's another winning season. I think there has to be a fundamental recognition of what the fans and supporters mean to the team and the desire to mend fences. I think that whole thing with the ice raids really hurt the team in a lot of ways. I think the fans took that personally. And I'm not sure that you can put that toothpaste back in the tube at this point. I think there has to be a concerted effort to actually kind of wine and dine the fans a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Let's shift away from off the field. Let's shift to on the field. The Galaxy, there was a lot of talk about the Galaxy needing an upgrade in the center back position, right? Now they bring in three-time MLS All-Star Jakob Glesnes from the Union from Philly. Former LA Galaxy goalkeeper coach Daniel Gonzalez last week called Glesnes the best defender in MLS. What's your take on the move, and how does someone like him change the way the Galaxy is able to play now?
Well, it was really funny when the Galaxy went into the offseason and made their roster moves, the guys that were going to bring back and all. There was a sense that was the team, and they didn't make that many changes. And I remember I asked Greg Vanney after that, I said, you had the worst season in franchise history and you're bringing back the same roster. That's the way it looks right now. You're keeping all these guys. Isn't that sort of the definition of insanity, trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? And he said, this will not be the roster. There are going to be some changes. Glesnes is one. Now, Glesnes is expensive, $1.3 million. So there'll be some other roster moves just to be able to afford him. So I think you can say goodbye to Diego Fagundes, which is unfortunate. He's made about that much money, and you can see Glesnes sort of taking Fagundes' spot in the salary. I talked to somebody in Philadelphia, a reporter who covered the team for many years, and he said that Glesnes was better last year than he was the year prior. He is a former MLS Defender of the Year as well as being an All-Star. But he's been troubled with the after effects of a sports hernia surgery. And they said last year he was a little bit better than he had been in 2023 in 2024, and thought that maybe he was getting his legs back under him and was feeling a little, healthier. But this guy said, I'm really not convinced that's going to last. He likes to get upfield a lot, but the Union had to go sprinting back a lot to defend him, defend his spot that he left open. And it didn't always work. He thinks that this will work better in the Galaxy system. The Galaxy do like to push their center backs up quite a bit upfield. So he kind of fits the Galaxy style, but he is going to be 32 this season, which isn't really old for a center back. He does take a lot of money, so there's going to be additional moves. And you look right now, the Galaxy appear flush with center backs, but there's a real good chance that that Yoshida will go back to Japan. He's apparently been talking about going back to Japan. And Zonka may not be back. He might be the guy that the Galaxy actually would sort of prefer not to have back if they had to pick one. So the Galaxy, the depth at center back may not be there when training camp opens. They could lose as many as 2 of the center backs they had last year. So we'll see where these go. I do think that Glesnes has the potential to be a really good player, but given the sports hernia surgery and the cost, I think it's a little bit of a gamble.
Right. And I will say at 32, he's still 5 years younger than a Maya Yoshida, for example. But be that as it may, while we're talking personnel, let's also take a look at the number 9 position, right? That's the other big one that everybody talked about. Greg Vanney himself said he wants a 15 to 20 goal scorer. The club last season, I should say, the season that just passed, had Matias Nascimento on loan from Brazil. He didn't exactly tear it up for the Galaxy. From what you saw, do you feel like Nascimento could develop into the guy they're looking for? And if not, what are your thoughts on a Joseph Martinez signing, for example?
Well, yeah, I don't know that Nascimento. I think they did get enough of a look. He was injured early in the season, took a while to sort of get up to speed. Late in the season, I don't think the Galaxy saw what they wanted to see from him. I'm not sure that he'll be back. They did re-sign Christian Ramirez. Apparently that was kind of a handshake deal when they brought him over. So it surprised some fans, but apparently the front office knew about it all along. I am told the front office is extremely active, that they're turning over every rock and really looking wide and far to fill their needs. And the number 9 is one. Christian Ramirez, Greg Vanney's already been critical of him, saying he's not mobile enough. He doesn't move around enough. We need a guy who's mobile. And so Greg Vanney's already tipped his hand. He's not the answer. Greg has talked about getting 1, maybe 2 guys in there. They did have a 15, 20 goal scorer the year they won the MLS Cup, and they traded him away. So they need to replace that spot. And again, Greg Vanney's talked about 1, maybe 2 guys. Joseph Martinez is one guy who's out there. I'm not sure I really like Joseph Martinez, and here's why. He's going to be 33 this season. He made $1.45 million last season. If you can afford that, bring back Diego Fagundes, because he's more valuable. But the big thing with Martinez is, as much as he produces on the field, and he's produced on the field, he's a valuable piece. But look how much he keeps moving around, how teams are not committed to him. To me, that says that he's a bad guy in the dressing room. And I don't know this. I'm just, from the outside, seeing a guy like that move around a lot. I wonder if he's the kind of guy the Galaxy want in their dressing room. They have a really good dressing room right now. Fagundes was a big part of that. Maya Yoshida was a big part of that. Ricky Puig coming back will be a big part of that. I don't think they need a guy in to sort of stir that pot a little bit. So I would be a little apprehensive. There's another guy that the Galaxy have been tied to, and I'm not sure how good these rumors are, but they appear to be gathering a lot of steam, and that's midfielder Sebastian Cordoba, who is leaving Tigres. Now, Tigres just announced yesterday that they're moving on. I think he would be, even as a midfielder, he's an attacking midfielder, I think he would be a little bit better of a fit. He wouldn't answer that number 9 thing, but I think he would fit in the locker room and maybe the team concept a little better than Joseph Martinez.
Interesting. You'd think that Greg Vanney is well connected enough to do his homework on right personality in the locker room and on all that stuff. So hopefully he gets that one right. Let's talk LAFC. Let's quickly, before we look ahead, let's quickly look at the 2025 season for a minute. And I don't think you and I have talked since the Galaxy exited the playoffs at Vancouver. When Keith Costigan was on prior to that playoff exit on the show here on Soccer in 60, he told us that because of a disappointing Champions Cup, a disappointing Leagues Cup, a disappointing Club World Cup, lifting MLS Cup was likely being considered a must to salvage the season. Now I'm going to put you on the spot, and I put Dax McCarty on the spot last week on this, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. Was 2025 a failure for LAFC?
No, and I keep hearing this, and oh my God, I'm from exactly the opposite position on this. This is the most ridiculous thing I've heard of. When I was at the Mark Dos Santos press event, when Mark Dos Santos was officially introduced, I was talking to John Thornton, and an LAFC fan who has a podcast came up and said, Mark Dos Santos is part of the same coaching staff that didn't bring a trophy this year. How do you think you're going to be successful with him there? And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. And I think John Thornton was taken back a little bit. Over the since LAFC came in the league, I believe they've won more trophies than any team in MLS. Certainly over the last 4 seasons, the Cherundolo era, they did win U.S. Open Cup, Supporter Shield, MLS Cup. They made it to the Club World Cup. No, very few teams in MLS did that. I mean, come on, they played Chelsea. It's a huge step in the class. Yes, they did not win the World Cup. Yes, they went out in group play. Yes, they finished last in their group. But they played in the Club World Cup, and they had to beat Club America in the playoff to do that. So, they're back in the CONCACAF Champions Cup for a second straight season. They did not lose in the playoffs. Let's forget they played Vancouver. They lost on penalty kicks. They didn't lose a game in the playoffs. They had another 60-point season, another 17-win MLS season. They had the second leading scorer in the league in Denny Bouanga. They had the most impactful, exciting addition in Son. I just don't get all the gnashing of teeth on the part of LAFC fans. I know that they didn't win a cup. It's the first time in several seasons, by the way, they haven't lifted a cup, but they did get to the end of the playoffs. They did get to the Club World Cup. They did play really well in Leagues Cup. MLS is set up as a league for you not to have success over a number of seasons. Right. LAFC has had one losing season. We just talked about Angel City, one winning season in 4 years. LAFC's had one losing season in 8 seasons. I think the fans should spend a little more time looking at how successful this franchise has been. Most wins in MLS since they came in the league in 8 years. Most wins, most points, most goals, most trophies the last 4 years. It's hard to be much better than that. Yes, they didn't lift a cup last year, but MLS is set up to do that. And now they're coming back reloaded with a really good roster, and they're going to be competitive again. I really think all you can really ask for a team to do is be competitive. When you get to the playoffs, it really is a roll of the dice. Again, LAFC didn't lose. They lost on penalty kicks. Were they the better team? Maybe. They lost on penalty kicks. I mean, this is not exactly the 62 Mets. I mean, it's a pretty good team.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I feel like sometimes people have to remember that MLS is not La Liga, right? Where there's two super clubs and everybody else has no shot at winning the trophy. It's parity all around in MLS. So I agree with you 100%. You mentioned both names that have been relevant or very relevant in the past 2 months or so since the season ended. Steve Cherundolo has left. Then the club announced, you touched on it, Mark Dos Santos, which is a decision in favor of consistency, not a big, huge name that people wanted that you'd have to drop even more money on. Cherundolo was a bit of a polarizing figure. You mentioned that. What's your take? I mean, obviously, I can deduce from your last answer what your answer is going to be now, but go a little bit more in depth on Dos Santos, what he brings to LAFC.
Oh, I think I'm going to surprise you with this answer. When Bob Bradley stepped down, I immediately wrote that Steve Cherundolo would probably get the job. And the reason I said that, or I thought that, was that Steve Cherundolo had come from Germany to take over the Las Vegas Lights, which was the USL Championship affiliate at that time. Had a terrible season. I think he won 4 games and lost 21, something like that. It was a horrible season. He wasn't supposed to be trying to win. He was supposed to be developing players. And people said, how can this guy with this horrible record at a second division team take over LAFC? Well, the reason he came from Germany is he had sort of a wink and nod agreement with John Thornton that if Bob Bradley stepped aside, Steve Cherundolo was going to be considered for the job. And so I kind of thought that was a fait accompli. This time it's a little bit different. I think John Thornton said they got over 100 queries about the job. They seriously considered 20 people. I think they interviewed about 8, and they wound up with Mark Dos Santos. Mark Dos Santos has won everywhere he's been except Vancouver, which is his only MLS job. In 2.5 years there, it was a dismal 2.5 years. It was impacted by COVID. They had to leave Vancouver and play on the road. Both seasons. One year they were in Utah, the other year they were in Portland. That's where their home games were. The players lived out of a hotel. It was a miserable situation. You can't blame Mark Dos Santos for that. He did the best he could with that. However, his first season, there was no COVID, and the Whitecaps were 8-16-10. So I'm going to be interested to see how Mark Dos Santos does. He talked about the roster looks pretty good, and I think it does. The LAFC needs more depth given that the World Cup schedule coming up. Every team can use more depth, but I think LAFC really needs some depth in the back line and the midfield. So we'll see about that. I do think that they have a good starting 11, and Mark Dos Santos has inherited that. He knows that the team, he knows the style of play, he knows the demands. He's been here he was an original coach under Bob Bradley, then came back when Cherundolo came. So he's been here 5 seasons. He did talk about how the coaching staff will change, and I think you can probably expect Ante Ravic to leave. He's been here the whole time, all 8 years. Passed over when Cherundolo got the job. Passed over this time when Mark Dos Santos got the job. I don't see how he comes back, and I don't know about his working relationship with Mark Dos Santos. That would be one guy that I think would leave, and we'll find out how valuable Ante really was, because if he doesn't come back, this will be the first year without him. We'll see what happens. I don't know what I feel about Mark Dos Santos. I mean, the players love him. Son and Boenga and some others went unsolicited to John Thorrington and said, this is the guy we want to play for. I think that's a big feather in his cap. But big shoes to fill. We talked about MLS as a league where you're not supposed to win consecutive years. He's going to redo the coaching staff, which has been very consistent, unlike Angel City, very consistent, through the 8 seasons. It's going to be a difficult year, and I'm going to be watching really closely, because I do think Mark comes in, he knows the team, he knows the players, he knows the situation, he knows the expectations. I think he's going to be on a short leash. And I think if he gets off to a slow start, given the demand, we already talked about how demanding these fans are, most demanding in MLS, maybe the most demanding of any professional sport in the United States. And if he gets off to a slow start, I don't think the fans are going to have a lot of patience with him.
Transitions us perfectly into my last question. The fans and patience. How much patience will they have with Hugo Lloris in 2026? Right, the club re-signed him. This is we'll go out on another small controversy and a debate that's going on among LAFC fans. So the club re-signed Hugo Lloris, massive goalkeeping legend. There was a bit of criticism on Lloris last season. His save percentage wasn't that high. He's not great at stopping penalty kicks. He made a mistake at Vancouver that cost them a goal. So Daniel Gonzalez, again, former Galaxy goalkeeper coach, said he thinks it's a mistake that they re-signed him. They should have gone with someone else. What's your take?
Well, it depends on, for me, a big part of that would be the salary. When he came over, goalkeeper legend, winningest goalkeeper in, World Cup history, Tottenham captain, French national team, all these great things that he's accomplished. But he came over for $350,000 a year. He was, I think, the 25th or 26th best paid goalkeeper in MLS. So they've re-signed him. He probably got a substantial raise. For me, how much he costs will be a big part of that. But he has a save percentage of 70% in his 2 seasons here. He has 23 clean sheets. One thing he does is he fits really well into LAFC style of play. They haven't had to change anything. I actually, if you want to go back, I thought that they had a pretty good goalkeeping situation, when they came out of the MLS Cup season. Lloris just sort of wound up on their doorstep, and I think that was great for them to get him. I don't know. He's another year older, which I know for a goalkeeper is not that big a deal. You would assume he's another year more comfortable with MLS. But when you look around MLS, how many goalkeepers are there in MLS that you would say, well, it's an upgrade from Hugo Lloris? I think he's probably in the top half dozen. Now, if you're talking about going and signing a goalkeeper from Manchester City or Manchester United, or, if you have a top goalkeeper, he's going to cost you more than Lloris is going to cost. But in the pool that he's swimming in right now, MLS, it's hard to find a goalkeeper that is better than him. And so maybe that's damning with faint praise, but I think he's one of the elite goalkeepers in MLS. And are there some problems with this game? Yeah, but I mean, we could find problems in anyone with maybe the exception of Son, just about anyone in MLS, you could find problems in their game. The other thing with him, though, is I'm not sure there's any, when you look at the LAFC roster, we talked about they need to add depth. Goalkeeper, for all the faults that you want to bring to Hugo Lloris, that's the one position where the LAFC cannot afford an injury. There's just nothing behind him. If he gets hurt, you can say he's, not an elite goalkeeper anymore. I disagree with that, but you could say that, you can make that argument. But my God, there's nothing behind him. So, be careful what you pray for.
Right. Yeah. Well, from an elite goalkeeper to an elite journalist in the world of soccer in LA pro sports, Kevin, you are a rock star. So much knowledge about the three major league outdoor teams that we cover here. Really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for your time and the insight. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you. Thanks for having me on.
And look, Tim, what we know about Kevin is if you just leave the ball on the tee, he's going to take a swing. He's going to run with those questions. Absolutely great to have Kevin Baxter on the show. Let's check in now with our good friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, head on over to nationalcore.org. Before we delve into Empire's next opponent, we wanted to bring on Empire's fiercest defender. That's right, Robert Palmer, the two-time MASL Defensive Player of the Year, and a player who, Tim, you and I have talked about, I think is going to be right there for his third of those awards coming up at the end of this season. He talks about this recent two-game stretch. It wasn't so friendly to them, and a little bit about Milwaukee coming up. Let's hear from the man himself, Robert Palmer. Our guest is a legend of the Major Arena Soccer League, the highest level of indoor soccer in the world. Born in Jamaica, he has spent most of his adult life in Missouri and has made a name for himself primarily with MASL outfits, the Kansas City Comets, and your Empire Strykers, whom he helped back to the playoffs last season while finishing runner-up league-wide in assists. That's right, assists. He is a leader, a fan favorite, a two-time MASL Defender of the Year at the top of the list this year as well, and a three-time MASL Elite Six selection. Please welcome to Soccer in 60, Mr. Robert Palmer. Berto, welcome.
Thank you for the intro. That was pretty awesome.
You're pretty awesome, my man. You're a legend in the indoor game.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's good to be here, with you guys. And again, can't be any better than that with that intro. So
well, look, you were just honored with another MASL Defensive Player of the Week, week 4 of 2025-2026. It was a week in which you recorded a goal and assist and 2 blocks in the first match, and then 2 assists and 2 blocks in the second match. But as we talked about in the intro, Berto, you finished second league-wide in assists last year. What is it about the Strykers system and about what Coach Onua Obasi has going on that makes you so successful on the attack?
I think I'm playing with the goalie up. Someone is open, and I kind of towards the middle to the end of the season start finding that forward pass. Especially with the targets or people being open, and then just having the responsibility of being on the ball as well and being in the special team. So, I think those two components help a lot. Just the run of play, playing with the goalie up, and just someone is open and just finding the open person to hopefully they can score, right? So, if they score, then it counts as an assist. But end of the day, just try to do what the team is needed. If they need, I know assist is there, but if they need a goal, I try to chip in and go. But my primary thing is defense.
Now, Berto, we have to talk about what's been a slightly underwhelming to the start of the campaign for the Strikers. Ever since a massive and rare win away at San Diego, one of your big rivals, you guys have lost 3 straight. The common theme has been struggling on the attack early and falling behind by 2-3 goals, and then coming alive late and just running out of time. What's your take on why that's been happening?
The first game is always like that in the league. Is just kind of see where every team is at, and sometimes there's always some surprise that happen in the first game, whether it's a close game, blowout, or maybe a lot of people didn't expect us to kind of pip that one over San Diego. It has been the first game, especially how the record have shown over the years with kind of a landslide for them towards them, with us. And then we're still playing the same way, but we have a lot of new players, so you kind of have to go back into that, of the basics of what we did last year. So it will take time, and I think soon as we unlock all the attacking parts, we should be because the games are close. In mind, it's not a high scoring game either. For us, you look at the games; they're very close. So it will take time, but we're not far off. And all the games, even the ones that we've lost, where when we've decided to put the step on the pedal a little bit towards the end, we just, as you said, we run out of time. So that just show you, if we kind of put that performance every quarter, then we should be in good shape rather than waiting till the last 7 minutes, not even the last quarter, but kind of the last part of the game to kind of push rather than do it from the get-go.
Yeah, Berto, let's talk about this recent 2-game slide, 2 losses in 2 days. And the first one, a bit of a surprise to the St. Louis Ambush, who Empire had never lost to before in their history. You guys are up 2-1. And then just like that, it's 5-4, right? I think you guys are down 4 goals in succession, 2 defenders scoring those 2 goals. How did that play out from your perspective? And why do you guys think you came up just short against the Ambush?
Yeah, since being here and just, going with the history, I've never lost to, St. Louis before with both Ontario or, Empire. And, that was a game that we, especially for me, look back to where we've created, chances to kind of move the game away. Especially when we went 2-1, but we kind of just let them back in, and and playing indoor for such a long time, a team hang around, there's a chance, right? And compared to where they realize, okay, the game is over, and just kind of like throwing the towel and just finish it out, just get it over with. They realize that, okay, we can actually win this game, actually can get a result. And again, you've seen the late push from us and trying to get late goals, and it just towards the end again, fell short.
Yeah, let's jump up to the Tacoma game. People need to understand that you guys had to fly to Washington State and play less than 24 hours after the St. Louis game, which is never easy. Despite that, it was a battle that could have gone either way. So what's your analysis of the Tacoma game, and what role did tired legs and tired minds play in that defeat against a well-rested Stars team?
Once the schedule, came out, I think, going through it, every team going to go through this kind of travel. I think a week ago or so, Casey did it play Milwaukee, then travel to Utica the next day and play. So, it's for me, I look at it where, not so much tired legs, but more mental, you know. So which, kind of share with the guys, like, let's not, find excuse right away that the result not going to go our way, rather than we're here to get a result. And I've been a part of teams where, the one that you kind of expect to not get result, you get result. And also teams that I've played, because that team I've played the night before and you feel like, oh, they're tired, and they came in and get the result. So, so it's both ways, right? Because Tacoma can look at it, oh, mentally, oh, we're rested, we should be flying, so much energy, and can, use up a lot of energy, and I'm realizing that we could still win the game. So, it goes both ways with the mental aspect. And, as we're prepared, that this is how it's going to be. The travel is going to be like this. It's going to be early in the morning. We're going to get there and just ready to go. And it's kind of go with preparation, right? You practice certain way and go about kind of how you go into the game. So maybe for the younger players who've never done this, maybe it's something new, but for me, I was, ready right after the game, try to get home, eat, wake up, stretch, before getting on just little things that help me, that I've used over the years, and, hopefully the traveling won't be like this anymore. So but if it's like that, now we know, right, that we have to be mentally ready.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way you're breaking that down a little bit. Get home, eat, go to sleep, wake up, stretch, and keep going. So, hey, let's take a look ahead. You guys take on a very good Milwaukee Waves team on the road on December 31st. And I'm sure you'll be desperate to avoid dropping to 1-4 on the season. First of all, let me ask you how you feel about playing a competitive soccer game on New Year's Eve in Wisconsin. And then also, what do you have planned for after the final whistle? And I don't know, maybe how much of that depends on the result of that game.
I was sharing with the guys that when I was in Kansas City, we used to play that game every year, the New Year's Eve game. And we always try to, make joke that, hey, let's not go to overtime so we can, because we would fly back that same night to spend time with our families and stuff. So we always joke that, it was a thing with our coach back then, was like, let's not go to overtime, because we're going to miss our flight, because it's, so right after the game, we were out just like that. So I've played this game many times up in Milwaukee. The New Year's Eve, it's a traditional thing for them, New Year's Eve game. And then it just depends on the result, right? So if the result is where you kind of like in the moment of enjoying it, rather than where if the result doesn't go what, according to what I wanted or we wanted, you're kind of like, you want to be around your family rather than, not say you don't like your teammates, but, just to get away from soccer, if that makes sense. But the result goes the way we're hoping for and, should go, we get that win. I think the celebration, should be good. So I'm going to the new year.
Well, Berto, it has been an absolute pleasure for us here on Soccer in 60 to sit with you, the two-time MASL Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm calling it right here. I know it's early in the season. He's going to be the three-time MASL Defensive Player of the Year when this season is over. Robert Palmer from your Empire Strykers, thank you so much for joining us here on Soccer in 60, and good luck in Milwaukee.
No, thank you for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.
So great to have a legend of the indoor game, Tim, like Berto Palmer on the show, Soccer in 60. So happy that he was able to join us. Look, we got to a lot of different things there with Berto, but what we didn't talk about is this upcoming match against Milwaukee and how formidable they've been. The opposite record of the Empire Strykers, 3-1 to the Empire Strykers, 1-3 wins versus San Diego, Kansas City, and Baltimore. And their offense right now, Tim, is clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, and Berto touched on this about being a little slow out of the gate. And if they're slow out of the gate against Milwaukee on New Year's Eve, it's going to be 5-6-0 before they start shining up that disco ball for it to drop down at the middle of the arena. I think this is a game that Empire really has to come out running and gunning from the get-go. And Berto talked about this too. You've got a lot of new guys on the team that aren't quite connecting with the program that Coach Obasi is running. But I think this is a great time to have this thing to really start to click. And I think they can kind of put it to the wave this New Year's Eve.
Yeah, look, between the two Alexes, Alex Sanchez and Alex Ludwig, and of course Alvarez up top as well, Milwaukee has come out of the gates firing. I mean, it says a lot when you beat the teams that they have in San Diego, Kansas City, and Baltimore. But look, It looks like they've finally got Justin Stinson going, a goal in each of his last two. We've seen what Munir Alami can do, and no Marco Fabian in a couple of these matches. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get their top three strikers going. And again, that's in Milwaukee on New Year's Eve. So make sure you guys tune into that. Don't forget, season tickets also available on theempirestrykers.com. Orange County slowed down a little bit for you, Timmy, this last week. They had 5 players signed and then 5 players signed. Just 2 new players, or I should say old players, back into the mix for the County boys. But these are 2 big ones, Timmy. First, maybe the replacement for shutout Shuttler. Colin Shuttler obviously leaving leaving Orange County, and it'll be Tet Cadono back in net in 2026, and he provided some incredible moments last season, Tim, for the County boys.
Yeah, to pick up that win in the penalty shootout was huge, and with Colin moving on to Colorado, this is Tet's team now. He is definitely the number 1 goalkeeper on Orange County's club. And for him to be able to have that, to be the true number 1 coming into the season, I think it says a lot about Orange County's, their faith in him to be that true number 1, especially when you come in taking over for a guy like Shuttler, who is definitely a legend in the Orange County system.
Yeah, you have to wonder, too, if Colin Shuttler being removed for those penalty shots for Tet Cadono kind of helped the writing stay on the wall there for him leaving at the end of the season. I don't know. Look, he's a former Big West Keeper of the Year. He is a big addition to this club, and he's someone who I think personally is ready for his star turn next season. But let me ask you, Tim, do you expect them to bring in somebody else to maybe push Tet for the job, or is he going to open up this next season as the number 1 keeper?
I think they're going to bring in somebody else, but they've got a couple of keepers in the system. They've had a couple of backups that are coming up through the Irvine group, the Irvine Zetas and stuff like that. So there's keepers that are ready to back him up, but I think when they made that signing, I think it was for them to be the true number 1 keeper.
And former keeper coach Daniel Gonzalez thinks he's ready too. So we'll see what happens. Tim, my favorite signing for Orange County last year. I mean, if there's anybody that embodies the way that I would have played soccer, if I was any good at it, is the Scotsman Stephen Kelly back into the fold for 2026. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 red cards, 3 yellow cards. I love it. He is so much fun to watch when he's actually on the pitch, and also a lot of fun to watch when he's getting sent off the pitch. It is going to be an interesting full season now with the former Rangers product, Stephen Kelly. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, when you look at hockey games and you always talk about a guy going full tilt and putting his full body weight into somebody. Stephen Kelly, the Scotsman that he is, if it's not Scottish, it's... No, that's a different show. The fact that they were able to bring him back and he's still, 25, 26, I think this is great for Orange County. I think to have that fire in the belly of a guy like Stephen Kelly to go out and really put the wood to the other team and know that they're going to have to go through a couple of brick walls to get to the goalkeeper to get a shot on goal. I think this really makes Orange County very, very strong up the middle. And I think it's a great signing. I was stoked when I saw that earlier this week that they had signed him.
Yeah, playing the full 90 in each of their 9 last regular season matches. That's a big get to get back into the fold. And look, it might not be as physical as the Scottish Prem, but now he's got to be able to figure that out coming up for the very next season here in 2026. So here's the beauty of Soccer in 60. Some weeks we have a best 11. Some weeks we have an Elite 6 as an homage to the indoor game. Well, with the Strikers being the only team in action, this week, we've got the Strike Force, the top 3 players from their 2-match run last weekend. Yes, we know the matches didn't go the way of the Strikers, Timmy, but there were still some fantastic performances. In third, getting our third star, I guess, right, is Isaac Somo. 1 goal, 1 assist versus St. Louis. And now, Tim, how cool is this? Right before that St. Louis ambush match, they signed his brother Ali as a teammate. So it's a big week for the Somo family. Congrats to Isaac on a great performance. But Tim, somebody that you and I look at each and every week, we expect to see him on Sports Center sometimes, is our 2nd star winner, Brian Orozco, who had an absolutely incredible week.
Yeah, he did so well this last game. He's got a goal. He had a 789 save percentage, 11 saves versus Tacoma. You watch this guy play and just the passion, the desire. You always say that about guys, but this guy is he's such a baller, man. I love watching this kid play. And when he scores, the entire crowd goes bananas. You know, the 5 Striker fans they had, in Tacoma. But, these things happen even when you're on the road, Scarf.
Listen, we talk about Robert Palmer being one of the best offensive defenders in the league. We've got the best offensive keeper in the league in Brian Orozco as well. He is a special, special one between the pipes. But look, all the Friends episodes call themselves the one with this, the one with that. This is the Soccer in 60 episode that we'll call the one with Robert Palmer, because getting our first star of the week here on the Strike Force is indeed Robert Palmer. 1 goal, 1 assist, and 2 blocks versus St. Louis, and then follows that up with 2 assists and 2 blocks in the match against Tacoma. We talked with him in the interview. You and I have talked about Berto Palmer time and time again, but I just want to remind everybody that playing at Toyota Arena, if you go to theempirestrykers.com, and that's strikers with a Y, you can get tickets to see the 2-time MASL Defender of the Year in Robert Palmer. Don't forget gold medalist Marco Fabian, Super Strikers Justin Stinson, and Munir Alami. It is an incredible experience out there at Toyota Arena. And Timmy, this has been an incredible experience once again, doing Soccer in 60 with you, my friend. For all of you out there, we are recording this on December 22nd, but we want to make sure, December 23rd, but we want to make sure that you guys all have a very happy holidays from us at Soccer in 60. This is, once again, Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. Happy holidays.